All right, welcome to Hacking Self-Storage. Today we have got a fantastic person for you today. We have none other than Stacy Rossetti. Now, I first heard about Stacy Rossetti from other podcasts, and she's making quite the splash in the self-storage industry in America. She currently has 8 storage facilities, and she's nearly completing her 9th facility. So this girl has seen it all, and it is a fantastic talk. I'm just going through the things we've talked about today. We talked about automation, because every one of her sites is automated sites. So she has one person in the call center, and then she has one man on the ground. So I wanted to understand more about that. She does also talk about a little bit of terminology about the Americans, how the Americans use the terminology. And so every now and again, I do ask her, because I had no idea what it was. So I'm trying to make sure that us listening in the UK, even though we've got a large US audience as well, I just want to make sure that the people in the UK understand it as well. So hopefully that when there was something that I didn't understand the terminology, or you don't understand the terminology, hopefully I covered that and we asked a question. What else did we talk about? Oh, we talked about, I've got tons of pages of notes on my new notepad. It's the 3 different things: finding, funding, and running. They're the things that she teaches. She's also got a mastermind as well. Many, many members. She's got a 40,000 email list of subscribers. I mean, that is just incredible. We also talked about different ways of producing income, different ways of getting into the industry. There's 6 different ways. There's finding mismanaged facilities. There's income producing assets. So income producing, meaning that they're already running very, very well. So all we need to do is sit back. On the mismanaged ones, we need to improve them, add value. Then we talk about improvements as in extensions, etc., or making them look better. Then we're talking about wholesale, which I had no idea what wholesale is. And if you don't know, don't worry, we'll talk about that. We talk about the lending money as well. We go into so many different things in this interview. Hopefully we talk about lifetime value. We talk about the 6 ways to get into, it's just absolutely so much. The operations, I ask her about how she gets her customers, and we talk about SpareFoot, which I hadn't heard of SpareFoot before. And we talk about, anyway, as you can tell, we talk about a lot in this episode. I don't want to bore you too much. Enjoy it. I hope you do. It's quite a long one. All right, my friends, thank you so much. I will speak to you soon. Bye-bye. So Stacy Rossetti, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I've been researching you for the past couple of weeks, and thanks for coming on the podcast. I can't wait to start chatting to you.
I'm so honored. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with you today. I really appreciate it.
No problem. So Stacy, if you could tell the listeners a bit about you and what you do, that'll be absolutely awesome.
I invest in self-storage. I'm an investor, and primarily it's just self-storage now. And then I teach people how to invest in self-storage. And then I also, we have a company called REI USA as well too. And that is like a platform where we teach people how to invest in real estate. That's what we do.
Awesome. So I always ask this question: how did you get in the industry? How did the self-storage industry find you?
Well, I started out investing. I started out wholesaling and rehabbing. So 2010 came into the market right in the upturn, and I was wholesaling and rehabbing. And actually, I was one of those crazy people that did like 15 rehabs at a time. All right. And then what happened was in 2015, I got pregnant. Yeah. And when I was pregnant, I was doing 15 rehabs, and I had 15 rehabs in the pipeline. And in my mind, like I was like freaking out, honestly. And I was kind of like, how am I going to handle all these rehabs? Because if anybody knows about doing rehabs, y'all know that it's just like, even doing one rehab is a lot of work. And I was doing 15, and I had like 3 GCs and project managers and all this kind of stuff. And I was running this this real business. But the truth of the matter is that over the course of the 5 years I had built that company out, all it was just active income. That's it. There was no passive income. I'd come across a couple of rental properties that I had picked up just because they were like I had convinced the owners to owner finance them to me for like zero down or something like this. And so I had a couple of properties, but I had never really focused on passive income. And so now, as a mother to be, essentially my mind was like, we don't have any passive income. Like, I'm going to have to work all the time in order to get, to get these rehabs done. And I don't want to do that. I want to stay home with this baby. And so I told my husband, I was like, that's it. We're not buying any more houses. And I had a realtor that I had worked with the entire time, and I still work with him to this day. And I basically told him, like, stop bringing me any houses. I only want things that can be passive income. And so he started sending me like multifamily. This is back when like nobody wanted to do multifamily, right? 2015, people were like, multifamily, oh my gosh, And so 2015, I was looking at like apartment buildings, and then I was thinking, well, maybe I should just do like a portfolio of houses, or something like this. Like I was like looking at all these options, and then he like brought me this storage facility. And this is back in the day when you could actually find storage facilities that are good prices on the MLS. And I was like, a storage facility. I was like, I never thought about that. And it happened to just be like 15, 20 minutes from my house. And it had been on the MLS for 5 years and nobody had bought it. This is back in the day when you would see stuff on the market for like, years, and like nobody would buy it. And so I drove over and I took a look at it. And as I drove up to this facility, I was like, this is exactly what I want. And it was the ugliest, dumpiest storage facility in the entire world that you'd ever seen. And it just like made my heart pitter patter, because, I'm a rehabber at heart. So when I see ugly things, then, I just want to make them better. And I had no idea about anything with storage. This is back like when I had no idea about anything at all. And I didn't know if it was a good deal or not. I just knew that it definitely fit into the realm of something that I could possibly do. And that's how I got into it. It really just, I got pregnant and I tried to figure out, how can I create passive income now so I can stay home with my daughter?
Yeah, so there was a need for it. So when you say rehab, for those in the UK, does that mean like renovational work?
Renovations, yes. Yeah. So I bought ugly properties, like pennies on the dollar, 25, 50 cents on the dollar. I put some work into them, and then I would sell them at a higher price.
Yep. So fast forward to today then, Stacy, how many storage facilities do you currently own?
We're buying our 9th one right now. We have our 9th one under contract. I just got another one yesterday sent to me that we're going to put under contract as well too. I focus on smaller properties that are mismanaged properties. So I want like dumpy facilities. Now, that's not to say later I might do bigger properties, but I teach people how to invest in like $1 million or less. And I just tend to connect with like beginner investors that, don't have any money or very little money, and they want to get into the investing world. And so that's what I do, is I buy properties that are probably around like about 100 to 150 units is about kind of our sweet spot. Usually $1 million or less, but anywhere from like, let's say $200,000 to $500,000. That's kind of where I'm focusing. Now, my students, I've noticed that they're kind of going bigger, right? A lot of them are going bigger, but that's kind of what I focus on.
Yeah, do you know what? That'll be perfect for a lot of our audience now, because I've been going on a lot of real estate podcasts, and a lot of those people are now getting in contact with me and asking me, where do we start and how do we start to get in self-storage? So if somebody asks you the question, how do you get in storage? How do you find the deals? Would you recommend somebody acquires a facility, or would you recommend that somebody starts up their own from scratch?
Like to build one?
Yeah, to build one from scratch. Yeah, you build the unit.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure if everybody's in the UK and they want to build it, or these are like, people in America. But in America, I say that there is not enough storage facilities in the world, especially in the secondary and tertiary markets, right? And especially in tertiary markets. I mean, all of our properties, and when I say tertiary market, a tertiary market is like the country, right? Yeah. So you have like the primary market was like the cities, and then you have secondaries, kind of like the burbs of the cities, right? And then as you go out, it's like, in the middle of nowhere, that's tertiary markets. And there's just not enough storage facilities in the tertiary markets right now. And what's happening in the United States is that there's a lot of migration going on right now.
Yes.
A lot of migration. And that's one thing that I always recommend for my students to do, is to watch migration patterns. And the really cool thing is that the big box companies like CubeSmart and Public Storage, they all follow migration patterns. That's what they do, is they're looking at the migration because they want to know where they should be building, right? But they're always focused on primary markets, these bigger ones. Now we can follow that. What's happening in America right now is essentially everybody from California is leaving, right? And they're going to Texas or to like, you know, up to the Northwest, Boise, you know, Washington or Oregon. And then also like everybody on the Northeast is coming down to the South, right? So there's a lot of migration that way. And then what's really important is that a lot of people are leaving cities and going to the country, and they're migrating just within their own state, right? So in the state, I live in Atlanta, I live in Georgia. So everybody's moving out of Atlanta and then moving into these like smaller cities, either in like the secondary markets, the burbs of Atlanta, or even further out into these tiny cities. And the reason why is because you can just be virtual now, right? You know, that's just how the world is. So you can just work out of your house. And actually the truth is like housing is so expensive right now in America. And so a lot of people, they just can't afford $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 houses living in the city anymore, you know, so they're all migrating, which was funny because in 2010, when I got into the market, everybody was going into the cities because the houses were so cheap, right? Because we were coming out of this bubble. And so everybody was like, oh, we can go buy like 50 cents on the dollar houses. Let's do it. Let's move to the city. And now, you know, this is like 10 years later, everybody's moving out of the cities and into the secondary and tertiary markets. So there is not enough storage facilities in tertiary markets. So if you want to build, you should be building in secondary and tertiary markets. That's my personal opinion. There's not enough storage facilities out there right now. I mean, we're only in secondary and tertiary markets. We have 8 facilities. We just bought one in January. That's like a dumpy one. So that's not full, but all the other ones are completely full. So I would say if you can afford to build, right? You just have to have a lot of money up front. You have to be able to get that money to build. If you have 20% to put down, then build. That's what I say. And even doing like conversions of like, you know, old shopping centers and things like this is really key as well too. Especially in these like smaller cities, there's a lot of these like, you know, these shopping centers that you can buy for very cheap, and then you can build in them. So I say build if you can. If you can't, then of course, just buying, you know, a mom and pop shop is a great option as well too.
Yeah, and add value to it. I love that. Do you know what? I put 2 notes down while you was talking. I completely agree. It's the same in the UK with self-storage facilities. So we're looking at large towns or even smaller towns because they're often overlooked by the REITs, we call the big boys and stuff in you know the big self-storage businesses. They're often overlooked. So there's often a lot of opportunity where they aren't interested in going to a town where there's 50 to 100,000 people, the population there, and there isn't that many self-storage. And so you can come in and there's certainly a market there. And another thing that you said that really excited me, in the UK, we have 0.7 square foot per capita. In America, you have 9 square foot per capita on what my research and what we've been told. And I love the fact that you said there's not enough self-storage in America. That is absolutely phenomenal. And people always get in touch with me and say, Dean, is it too late to get in this industry? And I'm like, no, it's not too late. If you look at America, and you just said it yourself, there's not enough self-storage in America. And it's 9 square foot per person. And in the UK, it's 0.7. So there's a lot of growth in the UK.
I love that too. Yeah. And I get that question all the time. It's like, oh, everything is so saturated. Well, if you live in like a downtown city, of course it looks saturated, right? Because it is saturated most of the time, right? But when you get down to the secondary and tertiary markets, I'm telling you, there is so much opportunity right now. You have to take advantage of that.
Yeah, totally agree. One of your quotes is on your website, and I've heard you say it on podcasts as well. You've actually said that self-storage is the best kept secret in the investing world. And I don't know why more people aren't investing in it. So why do you believe that? And by the way, I 100% agree as well with it. But why do you believe that? I personally feel it's the best way to invest and create the lifestyle that you want. Yeah.
That's it. That for me, at least that's personally for me, that's the thing, is that, you know, I mean, now I'm the type of person, I'm not going to go out and do like huge, big monster like deals and stuff because I'm, you know, first of all, I'm a little lazy, and you know, the more I invest, the lazier I get. Honestly, I want to make the most amount of money with the least amount of work, and plus, I want to spend time with my family. That's it. Like, I'm just not like, I'm not a buy a big, huge business and run that kind of a person. My husband isn't either. We're like RV people. We're traveling. In fact, last year we traveled 8 months, eight
Wow.
months. So as soon as COVID hit, everyone's freaking out and staying home. My husband and I jumped into our car and we traveled from May until the beginning of May till end of August. And we did 16 national parks in 16 weeks. And so everybody was like scared at home, staying at home. And we decided we're going to just go outside and we're going to just travel and see the country. And we had like oh my gosh, those are the best times ever. And we did that all with running all of our storage facilities, all of them. And then we came back and went to Tampa for a month, and my husband turned 40. And then we spent the whole month there and just went to the beach and had a house with a pool and just hung out. And then also we did Maine for 2 months. And like my daughter for Christmas, she said she wanted snow. That's what she wanted. Now we live in Georgia, like, so it doesn't really snow that much. And so I was like, you want some snow? I'm going to get you some snow. And so we went up to Maine, rented this house, and it was like, as soon as we got there, it just started snowing, and it snowed nonstop for like a month straight. And we just played in the snow. And that to me is why I don't understand why more people aren't investing in self-storage, because you can truly create this lifestyle. You know, you can manage all your storage facilities. And if you're not managing your storage facilities the way that we're doing it, I personally feel you ain't doing it right. Right? Because like it's not hard to manage these things. In the front end, it takes a little time to get them set up and rocking and rolling. But you can truly be totally hands off, and it could be totally passive income. And that is why I think it's the best kept secret in the industry.
I love it. So when you say you're not managing it correctly, do you manage all, if you haven't got the lifestyle, you're not managing it correctly, do you manage all your own sites, or do you have a third party doing it?
So we're completely vertically integrated, and we have almost 1,000 doors. Okay. And we have Bonnie is our office manager that handles all the calls and handles like, all the office stuff or whatever. Yeah. And then we have a boots on the ground person that manages all of our storage facilities and travels. We have them all just through Georgia essentially, but he travels around and and actually he just goes to the storage facilities like once a week and just like checks on them, cleans them up. He's like the boots on the ground maintenance person, and that's it. That's all we got.
Wow. So do you automate your sites then?
Do we alternate them?
Or automate. So can people
automate them? Oh yeah, they're all completely automated. Yes. So like what that means when we say automated is that we are completely contactless. In fact, we've been doing investing in storage for 5 years now. Okay. So, and the very first one that we bought, I told you, the one that just made my heart skip, that one, it took us a year to figure out what we were doing. We had no idea what we were doing. We had a website, but like we were still like every once in a while, I'd be like, yeah, we'll meet you down there and just get the contract signed or whatever. So it took us a year to kind of figure out like, you cannot do that anymore, right? If you want to have the lifestyle that you want, you can't just go down and meet people. So we're completely contactless. Everybody just goes online, books their stuff. And then if they have any issues, they just call Bonnie. She can manage it for them. Everything, we have like a back office software that we use that does everything. It's the one software that can really automate everything. Our auction process is automated. Our contact is we can do text messages and emails. That's all automated. So everything is basically in the cloud and automated with the communication. And if we need to talk to anybody, they just really talk to Bonnie. So that's how we automate everything. So it's contactless and it's online.
Yeah, I love that because it's quite new to the UK is automation. And 18 months ago, I was speaking at the Fidessa conference, a European conference, and I was having a debate against Travis Morrow. I don't know if you know Travis Morrow, Mr. Automation, Mr. Smooth, really good looking. And he came on and was talking about automation. And I was saying, I don't think the UK is ready for it. I don't think it's just ready yet. And I actually had to have him on the podcast literally probably a month or two ago. And I had to apologize and say, listen, man, you was completely right. We are now, even though in England, we aren't embracing automation as much as we should do yet. We're actually opening our first completely manless facility. And so I had to get him on and say, man, you was completely right. It is definitely the way forward. So just in your system, Ben, you've got Bonnie in the call center. So anybody has issues with the rentals or wants to ask any questions, she rings up, and from all your 8 stores and soon to be 9 stores, it goes to Bonnie in the call center. She answers it. And then you've got one guy who's got the boots on the ground, and he goes around just checking everything, making sure everything's okay.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
That's how it is for us. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Yeah.
And so then when I say contactless, we have not, my husband Pete and I, we have not met any of our tenants in at least 4 years. Yeah. So that first year, like we were trying to figure it all out, automate, systematize it, but we have not met any of our tenants. In fact, our tenants do not know who we are at all. So that's just we are out of the picture, completely out of.
Yeah, I think that self-storage, you want to, me personally, when I'm talking to people, you want to understand it. You want to know what's going on and how it works, first of all. But as soon as you can get out of the business and then focus on running the business and the direction of the business and looking for deals, like today, I've just been down to another location and hopefully we're doing another deal, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I was still in the business. You mentioned that you use a great automated software. Do you know who it is?
We use storage.
Storage.
It's called StorageNerds, and that's the online software you are here. There's several. There's a lot of different kinds of storage. Now there's a company in America called Storable, and Storable owns Storage, ESS, which is Easy Storage Solutions, and SiteLink, which are the 3 property management companies. They also own SpareFoot. And then they own a couple of like insurance companies as well too. So they're very vertically integrated, and they offer like essentially a complete solution to storage facility owners. And we actually have a spokesperson. Her name is Jennifer. She comes, like once a quarter to the Mastermind, and she talks about all the changes that are going on, because ESS, SiteLink, and Storage are essentially kind of the bigger 3, like for small business owners, the bigger 3 like property management companies that you would use. I'm sorry, softwares.
Yeah, excellent. We'll put a link to all them in the show notes. My awesome virtual assistant Jojo will dig them out and have a look at them and put links in the show notes as well. So I've just got a couple of operational questions, and then I'd love to get on to talking about your mastermind. So where do you currently advertise, Stacy? Is it just Google pay-per-clicks, or is it just Google SEO, or what do you guys do to get the quotes in?
So up until like the last couple of months, we mostly used SpareFoot. SpareFoot is a syndication site for storage facility owners, and essentially you pay them. It's kind of expensive, so I highly recommend don't doing it. What we do is I tell my students now, sign up for SpareFoot and use them in the first 90 days. And then what we do is we have a like a guy that puts together all of our like Facebook ads, Google ads, and kind of sets everything up for us so that we can do all of our ads online. And all my students do this. So essentially you start out with SpareFoot, and SpareFoot is just like a quick way to get your name out into the world, right? Yeah. And then, but you don't want to use SpareFoot for very long because they're way too expensive. All right. Essentially, like it costs probably, let's say I have a unit that I put under, I rent to a tenant for $100. I would have to pay them $200. Right. So I have to pay them 2 months rent per tenant. But if you actually learn how to do Facebook ads or to do Google AdWords or to do like essentially online marketing, which is what we focus on in the storage and the mastermind, is that then you'll dramatically decrease your price per rented tenant to like under $20, like anywhere from $10 to $20 or something like this. So you do want to, and I tell everybody that I talked about that wants to learn how to invest in self-storage, like there's 3 steps. There's finding them, funding them, and running them.
Yes.
Right? Finding, funding, and running. Running is actually the most important part, right? So everybody's always like, how do you find them? How do you fund them? That's all they think about is like, I have no money, or where do I get the money? How do I find these things? But the truth of the matter is that when you buy a storage facility, you're buying a retail business. You're buying a business, right? So you need, and if you had a business, you would need to learn how to run that business, and you would learn to do all the marketing for that business, right? So that you could get your customers. It's the same thing for storage facilities. Most people don't understand that you have to learn how to really run this. We talked earlier about like learning your numbers, you know, what's your customer lifetime value, all this kind of stuff, right? So you got to learn how to run your business. And one of the big things about running it is like learning how to truly market your businesses to get tenants at the lowest cost you possibly can. And you do that by learning how to market online. That's what you do.
Yeah.
So you have to learn this.
Yeah, I love that. So SpareFoot, we don't have that. So I've just quickly Googled it and looked into it now because I thought I knew what it was, and it was what I expected. So basically, what they do is they almost, I believe that they're like top of the Google rankings, etc. And then if you click that location, they'll drop down and give you a number of facilities in that location. We don't so much have them in the UK at the minute. They're trying to come in, but the Self Storage Association is trying to tell the members not to sign up, because once they've got a foothold in it, then like you say, it's going to cost a heck of a lot more to acquire a customer. It's good at first, but then it will cost more and more to acquire a customer. I'll give you some of my numbers to acquire a customer. When you said $20 to acquire a customer, I was like, wow, that is fantastic. Last month, it was £136 for every single customer that came from Google. And that's quite expensive.
Crazy. Why is it so expensive over there?
It's just pay-per-clicks. The cost of a click, every quote that comes through is costing me 27 quid. However, but that's just through Google. But then over just around about half my customers come from other means. So we've got word of mouth, we've got used before. And so I really believe if you're trying to do it not on a shoestring, but if you're trying to budget, then I believe looking after your current customers. I'm talking at the Spanish conference soon, and one of the subjects is about how to get new customers. And I really, and by the time this comes out, well, it'll have gone the Spanish conference. But I really do believe that if we look after our customers and make them walking, talking billboards, that's the cheapest way to acquire a customer.
Yeah.
And that for me is just, then if they recommend your self-storage to somebody else, that is giving their social proof to your business, and that can only be a good thing. But in terms of Google, I 100% agree with you. You need to know your lifetime value of a customer, because I know that my lifetime value of a customer is over £800. So don't get me wrong, I don't want to pay that much money for it, but if I am paying that, I know the numbers work. And there's so many times that people don't understand the numbers when they're coming into self-storage or just business in general.
Well, so are your facilities, are they in primary markets?
Yeah, so one's in a primary market. The other is in a small town, so you probably call it a secondary, or the one below that. The one I've been to see today is 220,000 population, so it would probably be a primary market. And the other one that we're just opening as well is also a primary market. Yeah, so at the minute, that's where we're opening. That's
why your customer lifetime value is so high, I think, as well too, because you have to think about that, like your primary market versus secondary and tertiary. Your customer lifetime cost, or whatever they're going to be spending over the course, is probably in a tertiary market, because like we charge $50 or $100, per month, for ours. Whereas like in the cities, like we rented a space in Orlando for a month, and it was like $220 for downtown. That's why I said, like, it sounds like your numbers are really geared more towards the primary market. When you have, and that's another thing, is like, what do you charge per month? If it's $800 and you're charging $200, that means on average, they're only staying 4 months or whatever. Whereas like in a tertiary market, they're staying, like our customers are like 10 year. I mean, ridiculous amount of time. Wow. Ridiculous. Like we buy facilities where people have been there for 10 to 20 years at the same place. And wow. That's a tertiary market mindset versus a primary market. Primary, there's a lot of turnover.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So when you talk about running the facility, then do you teach all revenue management, like price increases, etc.? Is that what you teach in your mastermind?
Yes, of course we do. We talk about this all the time. Essentially, here in the United States, the way it works, most of the time, and it really kind of depends on where you're at and what your customer lifetime value is. But essentially, like we do a 5% increase every 9 months.
Yeah,
That's how we do ours.
yeah. So,
Something like that. What do y'all do?
yeah, so at the minute, every 9 months, we do 11% increase.
Wow.
So
I
yeah,
think that might be a primary market. Is
yeah,
it
so
versus a tertiary?
yeah, we're very, very aggressive with our price increases. But the way I always say is that you never ever know the resistance point until you test something. And we used to be 5%. We've gradually gone up, and we have seen a lot more pushback now at the 11% mark. And so what we've done now is we're looking to scale back a little bit, because there's got to be a fine line, and you don't want to get too greedy. You don't want to piss off your customers too much, because you still want them to be walking, talking billboards when they actually leave your facility. So we've got to be careful on that. So there's a fine line between good revenue management and pissing off our customers. So you've got to try and get in between. What key performing indicators, Stacey, do you look at? Obviously, somebody else is managing your facility, but you're seeing it from afar. So what key performing indicators do you actually look for?
Well, that's what I mean. We look at essentially like how long is the customer truly staying with us? That's one of the things that we look at. And as I said, in the tertiary, it's so funny when you care, because we have secondary and tertiary markets. And when you compare a tertiary market to a secondary market, the lifetime customer value is so much longer. And they don't want price increases. Yeah. Right. So like we're actually pushing it at a 5%. Right. Increase. And my husband and I, we discuss this all the time. We discuss this a lot. I'm all like, man, just raise the rate, and he's like, we have to keep our customers, so it's just like you said, it's a very fine line to try to figure out what that balance is. But we look at like how long they're staying. And then you look at other things like what are the, how much does it cost for us to actually run the facility? So the truth of, how much does it truly cost? And the thing is, I tell my students, like, you cannot go off of like what the owner of the property that you're buying it from, you can't go off of their expenses. You have to know like what your expenses are. And the only way you can do that is by owning a property over a certain amount of time and truly keeping track of like, looking at your numbers and looking at your KPIs or whatever you want to look at, over the course of the next like 6 to 8 months to see what you do.
So my audience, Stacey, know that I'm an absolute bugger for a mastermind. So could you tell me a little bit more about your mastermind? You never know, you might have a new member by the end of it.
Well, we do so it's called StorageNerds. That's what my
I love that name, by the way.
Yes. And so if you want to be a storage nerd, just go to storagenerds.com. And then essentially you get to hang out with just people like me, really. We all like, the goal for us is to just buy as many storage facilities as we can. And they're all different types of people in the mastermind. I have like one student right now that he has a facility under contract. He lives in I think Iowa or Indiana. I think Indiana. And he picked it up. It's like almost 300 units. You tell me what you think about this. He picked it up for 300 units for $1.5 million. And it's the owner of the property does not own a computer.
Oh, wow.
Does not own a computer. And he keeps everything in like a ledger. Right, which is actually every single facility I've ever bought is like this. And so, when you run the numbers and get that thing filled up, and of course it's like 50% full or whatever, it's not being managed properly. The guy's old, he's like in his 80s. And so when you get that thing filled up, it's going to be worth like over $3 million. And it's 300 units on 17 acres of land.
Wow.
Yes. And so in the storage mind, I teach 6 different ways for you to invest in self-storage. Okay. Yeah. You can buy mismanaged facilities, which is exactly like the one that we bought, that we just talked about, and what I buy. You can buy income producing properties. right? So cash flowing properties. These are people who are like, no, I'm not like a risk taker. I want to buy something that's actually making money right now, versus me that's like, let's just do it, you know. And then you have the third way, which is conversions, developing in conversions, which I talked about, going out and buying a retail building and then converting it and putting pods in or whatever you want to do. And then you have also wholesaling. I teach how to wholesale self-storage. And if you don't know what wholesaling is wholesaling essentially, you are the middle person between the seller and the buyer. So for instance, I just got emailed yesterday a deal from a wholesaler, actually one of my students, but he emailed it to me and he said, it's like 50 units for $225,000. So most likely he put that thing under contract for $175,000 to $200,000, and he's going to sell it to me for $225,000. And he gets that cut in the middle. So that's basically what he is, a middle person between the buyer and the seller. So I teach how to wholesale. And then also new construction is the fifth way, new construction. And we're in the process of building a storage facility right now. It's in a tertiary market. It's going to be 100 units. Okay, so it's not super big. And it's going to cost us like a couple $100,000 to build this thing. And then the sixth way is lending, right? So if you want to get into storage facilities and you're like, I don't have any time, I don't want to deal with learning how to do all this, then lend, right? So partner and lend or something like this. And so those are the 6 ways that we talk about, and we go into all those. And then we talk about my 3-step process, which is finding them, funding them, and running them. And I teach my students how to find properties off market.
Yes.
So there's no going to Crexy, going to LoopNet. I would say 95% of all my students that get storage facilities under contract, it's direct to the seller. Or you go directly to the seller and you get it under contract that way. How do you find these off-market properties? And then we talk about funding them, right? And this is like, so for instance, that student that I just talked about, he put it under contract for $1.5 million. Now, it's 300 units for $1.5 million. A wholesaler actually brought him that deal. And the wholesaler has it under contract, or the wholesaler wholesaled it to him for $1.65 million. So the wholesaler is going to make $150,000 on that deal. Yeah. He's buying it. He's going to, the person that's buying it, the student that's buying it, he's getting an SBA loan. Right, so SBA, Small Business Association Authority, whatever it is, and so that's a government organization, and they love storage facilities. Why? Because they're recession resistant. And so essentially how it works. In an upturn we make money, in a downturn we make money, if you know how to run it properly, right? And so what he's doing is he went out and he found somebody to give him 20% down. He has no money. This guy has no money, all right? So he found somebody to lend him $300,000. He's partnering with them, 50-50 split. And then they're getting a loan off of the company. They're getting a loan from SBA for the rest of the money, and they're going to buy it that way. Yeah. So he is literally buying a $1.5 million, actually a $3 million facility with no money in the deal at all. So he's borrowing $300,000 and partnering with somebody and then getting a loan from SBA. And he's paying the wholesaler, the person that's loaning the $300 to purchase is also paying the $150,000 to the wholesaler.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so you've got to be resourceful, haven't you? That's the thing. You've got to be resourceful as well. So I mean,
that's what we talk. That's what we teach. That's what we teach in the mastermind.
Yeah. So many people would just think, oh, no money down. I've got no money. Do you know what? I can't do a deal. But there's ways and means, as long as you're resourceful. If you're only looking for angles, as long as you're looking for different ways, and the fact that you guys go for off-market deals as well, that's where the value is, and that's where you'll find the mum and pops who aren't running the facilities where you can add value, because ultimately they probably might want to sell, but they've got no idea where to go to sell the property, sell the business as well. So when you're looking at these facilities, or when you're teaching your students, if you could give your students one bit of advice, or anybody listening to this, one bit of advice for self-storage, what would it be and why?
It's all, you have to, essentially, you can do this. And actually the truth is that all the storage facilities that I've bought, I've never put a dime of my own money into them.
Wow.
All right. So like everyone's like, can you do this without money? You totally can do this. Is it harder to do without money? Yes. You have to learn how to do it, right? So educate yourself and surround yourself with people like me, essentially think outside the box, right? And that's real estate investing is only about how can you pull 10,000, 10,000, 20, 30, 50, 100, 200, $300,000 out of your ASS.
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. We swear on here.
And I say that the best investors are the most resourceful investors. Where can you get the money to fund a deal? Now you can go to a bank and get the money. If you have 20% to put down, then it's going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? If you don't have that money, it's a little bit harder, but totally doable. Guess what? I just got a deal for $225,000. I don't have that money, and I'm going to just go find somebody to give me that money, right? And then that's what you have to learn is to think outside the box.
I 100% agree. I really love that because in the UK, do you know, we've got a problem where if it's not, we're so polite, we don't want to insult somebody, we want to save face. And so we've got to start thinking outside the box. We will only approach a self-storage owner if it's on the market. And do you know what? I've literally been traveling around different towns now in the UK thinking, okay, I know this town is underserviced for self-storage. I know there's going to be self-storage there, and I don't actually mind now walking in. And it was because of the contacts I have in America that I know that you've got to walk on, you've got to drive, you guys call it driving for dollars. And so you've got to knock on doors and go into the facilities and actually ask about the deal, be open-minded to going in and thinking outside the box rather than just waiting for somebody to come on the market and a self-storage there to pop up the for sale sign. But then it's probably already too late because then the big boys, the REITs are going to be there, or somebody who's got more money than you or more capital. And so you want to make the most of the opportunity, and making the most of the opportunities to go in there and actually finding deals yourself. And I love the fact that you guys teach it. And my final words for you, Stacy, is that I cannot believe how much you memorize. I've been writing all this stuff down and you wasn't reading it from a script. You wasn't, all the six things you teach, and then the 3 ways of finding it, funding it, running it. I was like, how does Stacy remember all this? She knows it.
I'm a teacher. I mean, essentially, I didn't realize I was a teacher until I did a session like 6-7 years ago, like about 7 years ago, I did a session on real estate investing, and I started teaching, and, and I just it kind of just came naturally. And I was like, you know what? I'm a teacher. That's what I do. And that's why I'm the type of person as soon as I know something works, I want to share it with the world. Right. Yeah. So I am not the type of person to just keep anything hidden. Like if you join the mastermind, guess what? You're going to see all of our business, everything. You're going to see it all. My husband and I teach, and we just share everything. And then you guys get to just see how we work. I mean, we're trying to figure it out too.
Yeah.
But that's the best thing about a mastermind is that like you all get to work together and share ideas and stuff. That's why I call it a mastermind.
Yeah. Absolutely. So Stacy, if somebody wanted to find out more about you or join your mastermind, where would they go? What is your contact details? And we'll put all the details in the show notes at the bottom.
Just go to stacyrossetti.com, or you could go to StorageNerds. If you go to StorageNerds.com, it'll take you to stacyrossetti.com as well too. And then, or you can find me on Facebook. It's just Stacy Rossetti, Stacy.Rossetti, I think is what it is. And Instagram is, I think, Stacy.Rossetti. But yeah, so I'm all over the place. I'm on YouTube. Just search me on YouTube. I got so many free trainings.
You do,
on
yeah.
YouTube,
I've seen loads of it,
on my website. So if your type is like, I don't have any money right now, then just do all the free trainings at least, and then try to get your first deal, and then join the mastermind. Because you do need, honestly, I'm the type of person. I don't figure anything out myself. I just hire a coach. They tell me what to do, and then I just do it. So that's really what you need. If you really want to be truly successful at anything that you do, you have to do that. You just have to.
Yeah. I always believe that you've got to find somebody who is where, not necessarily a million steps in front, but even just a couple of steps in front of you, and find where you want to be in a year's time, 2 years time, and leverage that information and use their mistakes that they've learned along the way. And I spend an ungodly amount of money on masterminds, on coaches. And for me, that has definitely accelerated my learning curve a lot faster and probably a lot cheaper as well than learning the mistakes myself. Stacey, I want to thank you for your time. I know we've overrun slightly, so I'll get going, but I really appreciate your time. I've really enjoyed the chat. So thank you for coming on Hacking Self-Storage.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was so awesome to hang out with you. I appreciate it. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.